Good afternoon. Today's date is August 24th, the year 2024. This is actually going to be the very first reading. I may have read, I've read before from Dion Fortune's magical Bible written. It was on the other channel. So this is going to be a very focused reading. We're going to be reading some select portions from page 52, here and there, all the way up until page 67 or 68. On the other channel, youtube.com/@2025countdown, we talked about some of the basics of a high quality female, for example. Or if you're a female, you might consider replacing it with male. And it would be someone that has compassion for others, that has an interest in books like this, where people actually work to not ignore and pretend it doesn't exist, but to counter and destroy Nazi Hitler thought forms from the occultic planes. You see, a lot of people, when they come across me, they only view things from a certain perspective. This is bad, this is bad. They're really, in my opinion, just locked into, on the subconscious level, a psychology of always finding fault with me and overlooking the many, many positive things that I am discussing, staying stuck in either a witchcraft perspective, black magic perspective, fundamentalist Christian perspective, fundamentalist Orthodox Muslim perspective. That's a part of it. Can't reach the Muslims. Can't reach the Muslims for the life. It's very unusual. It's like we're in hell. And so it's like Beetlejuice, Handbook for the Recently Deceased. It's like humans actually need a book for life. Humans need a book for life on getting through life, not ending up in a lower version of hell, because we're in hell on earth, and hell's being turned into earth as the digital Antichrist consciousness comes in, which probably will demand our children. As horrible things will be shown and forced all around us on flat screen TVs to continue to brainwash us and turn us into robots. Let's get with it, okay? And then later, I may take these words and put them on local blogs and tag them appropriately. And then basically, not quite rewriting the book, but take the most essential information from the book and then rewrite it for the modern day and age, okay? And so what would that be? What would people be doing? We think about people bringing in and praying to Christ and the archetypal imageries that she is discussing and the symbols and the colors, okay? And then moral communities that are not sinning greatly, right, will be able to draw in those archetypal angels of protection into their communities to aid them during the lights out crisis that's coming. Okay, there we go. And so that's what I'm going to start doing when the time is right, is releasing secretly, anonymously, to various places locally that I think are worthy enough and conscious enough to maybe care about their own skin and maybe that of their. They may not be conscious enough to understand the other things that I say. So if I don't talk too much and don't reveal too much to certain people, maybe mainstream Christians will be open to some of this information. This book was damaged, unfortunately, by water, so I'll get another copy later. That's crisp. But I'm reading a damaged copy that normally the library would throw away. The starting point was the simple cross with circle, which symbolizes salvation through knowledge. From it quickly developed the rose cross, famous in tradition, of which so little is known historically. Then came the formulation of the cavern beneath the Mount of Illumination, where certain of the elder brethren came to meet us in the light. I'm going to say briefly, there is an option for me to do a USB microphone, so I will look for that option. So when I'm whispering like I am now and reading close to the screen, I can minimize outside interference, so please be patient. This was established to be the astral meeting for our work. So I want you to think about this, because we could do the same thing. Those who have built up the vision in their imagination until it has become a reality for them can use it as a taking off place for all manner of work on the inner planes, and thus, by means of the establishment of the thought-out form on the astral plane and a chain of associated ideas leading thereto, are gates of ingress of the unseen zone. Okay, moving forward quickly. Last Sunday, the meditation in the sanctuary was very powerful. One of the most powerful I've ever known. A beam of diamond light came down spontaneously as soon as the elder brethren had come to meet us, and this beam was then directed towards France, so that it laid like a barrier right across that country into Africa, and it seemed to be supporting the Allied armies. Not until the meditation was over did I realize that Sunday was the day set aside for a day of prayer for France. In all my experience of occult work, I've never seen anything more tangible than that beam of force. And so the problem that some people have is they're fearing all light, and they're disregarding her work. And many are going in favor of the New Age direction, New Age beams of light, willingly, to the direction of James Gilman, to the direction of Ramtha, to the direction of many snake oil salesmen and women. And I've talked about in other videos, and I've exposed them, how they are very different in what they're saying than her. Okay, I want that to make sense to you. I also want you to understand who Philip K. Dick is, more than just the author. Philip K. Dick had an experience where he had a beam of light come into his head, and he began to understand that we are still in Rome, that Rome was never defeated, that we are still energetically, spiritually, dimensionally, in that same time period in which Jesus Christ was crucified. Nothing has changed on earth, and Christ-like people are still crucified on the earth. Even locally here, the churches that have armed gunmen with fear, shaking with fear at the door. They seem godly. They seem loving until you actually look them in the eyes and show them your light. And so to be me in this place is very challenging. Let's get back. So she talks about the beam of light going from their location in Glastonbury to the United States. She talks about France, Africa, and the United States. And so I guess the idea is this light conjured up by her and her group, she was sending out to heal different places. And I do think that people can do that, can heal the land, can maybe even send ghosts or certain spirits and graveyards to the light. But there's also a lot of people that may be assuming that they're doing that just by them existing and being there. It's hard for me to know if one person that I met in Portland, it was a dating thing, but we didn't date, we just talked. And she moved to Portland, and the year was 2014. And she said that she felt called to move to Portland to heal the land from California. There certainly are a lot of people that are causing the land of Portland to be very sick, in fact, from California. But maybe she was drawn from California to heal the land, and maybe some people will come to heal the land through different types of moving, because we as humans can affect the planet. Okay. So she talks about the energy going to the United States from Glastonbury. Glastonbury is a place where she had land. And so she talked about the symbol of the cross and the rose, the circle and the cross and this circle and the cross is also a Hopi Native American symbol, especially when it has a few dots in it. Okay, let's just keep going through this. Okay, and she wrote this in 1940. If we as a nation make ourselves a channel of cosmic law through realization of spiritual nature of the struggle we are waging, we become the channel for the manifestation of the power of God. And the stars in their courses will literally fight for us. And the stars in their courses will literally fight for us. As they did in the weather conditions attending the evacuation of the BEF from Dunkirk, when the storm and the calm fell exactly as needed, and even the military authorities talked of a miracle. So there we go. She's talking about these angelic spirits being in control of weather patterns and ultimately being in more control than the militaries, who then themselves would like to see themselves as God or gods of war. She writes, we are, in my opinion, dealing with definite occult forces being used telepathically on the group souls of nations. Again, the language she uses, group soul, group mind. Group soul, group mind, group race. And she's discussing how these dark occult forces attack the group mind and infiltrate, and through the same mechanisms, through telepathy powers and meditation, people can positively correct it. And so right now with technology and smartphones and social media, the various groups, although they don't know it, are being affected by these archonic forces, which I've discussed for years, even before even cracking this book. Just speaking this truth, born with this knowledge, which is why I've suffered. Because if you're born with knowledge, and then you share that knowledge on the internet, and you basically leak yourself as one of them, one of those that's to bring light revelation to this world, then you will face suffering. You'll be single forever. And nothing you try to get done through the screen, finding love, romance, enhancing career, will work. Owning people that will bow down to. This is why men that are struggling, that have a spiritual nature to them, should learn to go all the way and embrace it. And understand that when you break your contracts with the devil of this world, the asuras of this world, the demons of this world, that things can be complicated, because now everything is digital. We are in end times now. You can see it everywhere. The fact people have to work so hard and their money doesn't go anywhere is modern day slavery. This is considered normal. Work, and the money goes nowhere. And the wages are nowhere. The wages are at animal level, primitive level. They're not treating us with respect. And if they had their way, these corporations, we would be working for free with the devil running all the Starbucks and McDonald's. We would just be working for free and electrocuted if we left our cage. If they get their way, that's our future. Okay, so all this is about preventing that high-tech corporate rulership in our future. All this leads to freedom. Yep. One of the most misunderstood books in human history. I would have thought this would be famous. Listen, don't be offended by this statement. There is no room for Nazism and democratic civilization on the same globe, and one or the other will have to get off it. And then there's the denial about what was said. Oh, that's not, we've moved beyond that. Oh, really? You really think you understand ChatGPT? There is only one sure protection against this subversive telepathy: spiritual principles, clearly realized ideals, and dedication to them. even unto death. Now, keep in mind, I'm not just talking about Nazism, but also other forms of ism, even anti-white sentiment. There is anti-white violence, anti-white sentiment, which we talk about all the time. And that also has a spirit of mischief, which is not righteous. So just have the maturity in spirituality and insight to understand that we are talking about the different hateful programs. Even some immigrants that I've defended for years may have, at times, maybe an ideology that has been fed into them through cell phones and technology. You just understand also that you don't become aware of the various programs, that you don't become hateful to the ethnicity, to the gender, to the nation state, but that you understand that when I show you articles of Russia calling Americans animals, that is a propaganda effort to lead other humans in other parts of the earth to be so anti-American that they, in their minds, are okay with Americans being persecuted and harmed. So, like I told you, there's a reason why they've allowed certain content on the internet to brainwash people into apathy and violent thinking. Because I'm telling you, from my interpretation of her book, that a lot of this internet content, fake news, is a bunch of crazy anarchy thought forms running around everywhere. Thought form, mental images that exist on the astral plane. Okay, enough of that. Back to the reading. We're going to end this short and sweet. Keep in mind, I will get a USB mic so that I can speak like this quietly and that you can hear me and that I don't get too loud and that I do have hearing loss from swimming, but it will come back. Don't worry. Not that any of you are. Not 1940. There is something very strange about this war. The nations that have been subjected were not beaten in the field. They felt a treachery and internal corruption, the lack of morale, and the lack of will to victory. The key to their fall may be found in the words, "He who would save his life shall lose it, and he who would lose his life for my sake shall find it." Those who prefer security to freedom have lost both. And so there's her right in 1940, echoing the words of civil rights activists after 9/11. Those that would give up their safety for security shall be left with neither, an echoing of the founding fathers. Was that Benjamin Franklin? So there was a consciousness spirit in during that period, the Revolutionary War, the founding fathers, and it was a spirit that was motivated by the rise of the solar cycle. Just to remind you, we came out of the mini ice age, the modern minimum, and then we went into the Renaissance period in Europe, where there was the rise in intellectualism, ideas coming out of the Dark Age. But solar symbolism was a very deep, profound thing in that part of Europe at that time. Okay. Now, this is controversial, what you say. So I'm not saying anything that would encourage you to be suicidal. However, we are led into a super fearful state of consciousness of always being afraid of dying. So keep that in mind, that the fear of death through certain movies can keep us in a lower vibrational state of consciousness where we have a difficult time, myself included, envisioning a freedom from slavery. I don't want to say rapture or ascension, but as I said before, if it is real and it is happening, I certainly want to be a part of that and letting go of any attachments to this world and the flesh. There is only one way to keep quiet and serene under bombardment, to be prepared to lay down your life for your country if necessary. Now that's kind of an iffy one for those of us that feel betrayed by our country. But what if we were to place country with tribe, community, neighborhood, familia, children, wife, girlfriend who's like a wife, Neighbors, what if the traffickers were coming for your neighbors and they had guns and you had a knife? Would you lay down your life to do something godly in order to gain God's favor? I'm collecting stories of crimes right now happening, and I'm also seeing stories of women that have stepped up to the plate to stop someone from being abused, and there's pictures of her all bloodied up and beaten up. Then there's another video of the same situation where a woman, beautiful woman, stopped a gang from beating up a boy or a man, and she wasn't beaten. I cannot tell you with full confidence how one woman walks away unharmed in one region and another woman is beaten. I cannot tell you. Once that is accepted, one, uh, uh, the passivity and helplessness go. Regard the warning wail of the siren as an alert, not a retreat, unless specifically ordered to get out of the way. Carry on as near normal as you can without running undue risk. Yeah, I'm going from one section to another, right, based on intuition, going here and there. Each person should impose for themselves a short mantra or rhythmic sentence of invocation of the masters to be present and protect, and should repeat it silently like a litany until the mental turmoil ceases and is possible to perform the meditation properly. If the turmoil can be stilled even for a few seconds, it will be possible to pick up the inner contacts with every probability of vision, opening and enabling us to see the work going on the inner planes. For the invisible helpers come very close to earth during these times. So who am I talking about? Jesus Christ. Who else am I talking about? Vishnu, Buddha, Krishna. For me, I call in my ancestor Maz bin Jabal, who rode with the prophet. And I call in some others. And then I recognized on a previous piece of paper people that I consider to be master-like that have departed. And then I also wrote down on a piece of paper also and posted it in a Substack group for the members. And somebody dropped out just now at the moment, which I mentioned how somebody's back. And I just want people to know that when I was, and we'll get back to reading here, hello to the new viewer if you came, if you left and refresh your screen. When I was in that place, that unfortunate place that you heard me talk about, one flew over the cuckoo's nest. Again, how did that happen to me? I mixed this drinking, marijuana withdrawal, a lot of rage, and an anger of the heart towards what's happened to Portland, and wanted to summon all these spirits, and also, the dead spirits and stuff, victims of war, Afghanistan, a million of them, to come to my aid. Not so much for that one, but the mind powers of humanity is deep, and that's why it's important that we know what we're capable of and that we do it with morality, because we already do live in a world, folks, where our society summons the dead, and not just any dead, like killers and stuff. Did anybody say American Sniper, Chris Kyle, the movie? That's very distressing that those are people that they say, oh, don't talk to the dead, they're so godly and Christian, yet they literally make a martyr out of a person that killed people from rooftops. Hey, if you're going to have a sniper, fight human traffickers. Promote defending the women in America, from the people brainwashed by these websites. I'll get on board that. Promoting a future sniper in the future to defend neighborhoods. But no, you don't see that. So you see, society is not being honest when they talk about how they view those things. And so I think, and we'll show you some clips in the future of Ghost with Patrick Swayze, where as a ghost, Patrick Swayze is developing powers of the mind, and Patrick Swayze, as a deceased spirit, is trying to help his wife or girlfriend stay alive because he becomes so aware of a plot to kill her. And so he's doing everything in his power to try to communicate to her in order to save her life. Likewise, there may be spirits, even masters on the other side, okay, that are trying to help us evolve. The problem is the New Age movement of the 1980s and 90s seems to have been heavily infiltrated by them. I know this through my mom, with lots of nonstop promises of being saved and the shift of all shifts, instead of being honest about the situation, being honest about September 11th being what it is, being honest about 2012, being honest about human trafficking getting worse. And we can't find honesty in these New Age channeled messages that have been littered on the internet from the Gary Cassidy's of the world. We have deception upon deception upon deception. And what we're really left with is a very distressing picture that a lot of these masters that some of the people think that they're talking to are in fact agents of their reckonings. And so there very much is a nefarious new world that we're dealing with. However, could there be a version of a planet of cooperation without hate? There's a different type of, I don't want to use the word order, but people like Dion here, they have visualized a world without hate. She has visualized a world of cooperation without people killing each other and being taken over by them. And if we're ever going to end up in that world, I don't know. I think it's somewhat of a pipe dream. But we have to work for that world if we're going to have it. It's not just going to happen for us. And so much of the modern New Age movement is about the idea of it just happening for us. And you have to make it happen by demonstration. And so what have I talked about? Creating off-grid communities where people live in protection and they're separated from the negative karma that comes from being overly dependent on this financial system. People that are dependent on this financial system, people that are brainwashed by this financial system, take that brainwashing over value systems, how much money a man has or a woman has, this, that, and the other, and they take it into their romantic lives. And through this contamination of money and contamination, they then contaminate families. And who creates family and who does not? Those that continue forth their genes, and those of us that are left behind that maybe will even be forgotten in 5, 10, 20 years. Maybe I will be completely forgotten by both you and the world. In fact, some of you I'd love to forget about me and never come back. I never stop praying. And then some of you, I pray that you come home to your teacher. That you take this offer seriously. When I met you at that coffee shop, or I met you at that bookstore, and I slipped you my card. And I'm going to be doing that in the future. Slipping people cards and inviting them to that other website, 2025 Countdown. But in addition to our physical plane precautions, let us have our meditation scheme planned and ready, and set it going with invocation and visualization as soon as danger threatens. You see, again, for those that are joining us, what are the 4 people? You can hit like at any time, no pressure. We don't want you to get electrocuted by the reptiles that are watching your head. Go ahead and hit like and find out what happens. I know, it's cool. And so she began to open up the doors, and she ended the secrecy when war began between England and Nazi Germany. She already knew what the Nazis were doing during the Cold War. She already knew about the brainwashing going on and the misuse of the archetypal imagery. She already knew about the manipulation of the group mind and race of the Anglo-Saxons, and she invoked a spiritual Celtic response. You can call it a battle of the white man, if you will, in Europe at that time. It was something that was deeply, deeply spiritual to her, where the real root of what was happening was behind the scenes. And I absolutely can see him as being a product of that, to establish world events, to take us to where we are now, and how there is the continuation of that form. As I was saying in a previous video, I'm very drawn to that song by Nirvana. Uh, I'm going to go ahead and look for it. And I don't know if you've ever been to the fair where they have the BB gun. The BB gun is there to basically shoot the cutout image, basically. So got a paper image, basically. And the idea is to shoot around the image. Okay, I'm having an issue playing audio, so it's not going to happen. But the idea is to use music meditation and focus on disrupting a thought flow at the same time. And if enough people were doing that, and it could be on a different entity, what if we had the name of the entity? Okay. And so these are things that the dark side does know. Is it smells like Teen Spirit? Okay. So another topic. So let's get back to the book. But you have the idea that people use music, imagery, sound effects to guide people into a meditation. And if you're new to this and you're watching on the main channel and you're aware of the Substack page, there's some guided meditations from Leon, who gave his predictions about the future regarding China and Russia. He talks about grounding, creating mock-ups, roses in your mind, clear out your head, and basically eradicating thought forms. And so a lot of humans are under mind control through what they look at, through what they listen to, and their minds are infected with thought forms. So even if some people have an interest in being stalked and targeting, a lot of them, in my experience, 99% of them, they're locked in, sniper style, on just blaming individual humans and communities for the issue and looking away from even discriminating against anybody that understands the paranormal. Okay. So we are building up to a primary prayer here. Okay, we're going to conclude here now that we're 33 minutes in, because this is too much for you. It's too much for most of you until we have some communication back and forth, until I know that, because what I've been told by my friend who I stay with is that my very attempts to share with you this has led either them and or their family or families, if they've been told about me, to think that maybe I'm a witch or a bad person for being involved in this. And that's pretty sad that people would just jump to, if that's the case, because they're either Christian, Catholic, Muslim, Hindu, or whatever, that believing that we're powerful. And Jesus said, I can do many things, you can do more. Many people are very, very far removed from it. So what I'm about to read to you I ran coach to go stand. And I really felt that George Nolan really wanted to rush me through it. And they really seemed uncomfortable with the whole thing. And so does my audience. In fact, whether it be my mom or people in Portland, there's never been anyone that's replied to me when I've caught them or given them this ebook by email. And then when I tell people you can email me, you can ask me for the ebook, I'll give you the ebook. They don't ask. And so I really do think that you have to be like a really dedicated soul on a serious soul mission to want to save the earth itself from complete destruction. Like you have to be almost like anointed or commanded by God to even want to have anything to do with either that, me, or this channel. There's a few of you have a curiosity in this channel. Some of you have like a fascination with my travels, entertainment. I make you laugh when I struggle. When I cry, it's like entertainment. But like the deep spiritual information, you're not doing data mining. You're not getting the books. You're not getting the work. You're just looking for something to, laugh at. And that's what I don't understand. When you know damn well your world is crumbling before your very eyes. Okay. I mean, do you think things are great? Tell me. Tell me how awesome things are. Tell me how loving things are. Tell me how easy it is to find love. You're in end times. You're in hell, you know it. What did Chris Rock say years ago? Okay, keep going. Goes off the pipe and goes off the pole. And what's happened 20 years later? We're all now on the vape and on the cell phone. Okay, so we've got the digital right. And what about the pole? That's right. Free pole dancing for everybody. Free OnlyFans pages for everybody. This is our future. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Forced prostitution. All right. Letter 65, March 16th, 1941. Personally, I think that it is a blind force, not a intelligent one, and that it finds a channel of personalities of unregenerate human beings who provide the intelligence it does not possess. I conceive of this dark influence as the acclamation of evil thought forms in the group mind of the race and place, an evil heritage that has come down undispersed from the dawn of German history and even earlier, and that overshadows the crown psychology of the German people to this day. There can be no reform of the Germans as a political factor in Europe until this dark psychic heritage that contaminates her is dispersed and neutralized. Propaganda that appeals to the conscious minds of Germans is as futile as argument with a lunatic, for it is not in their power to respond. There is one thing and one thing only that can disperse this dark cloud of ancestral evil and set the souls of Germans free, and that is the power of the Christ. And we must bring this power to bear. Pause. They don't have more to say after this. Let us visualize. I read this on national radio. George Noy was like, oh yeah, come on, read it faster. Back to the solar talk. No. You don't get it. We want to do this now when the sun is active. We want to pray in mass. Let us visualize Germany as a vast march of human helplessness and ignorance, covered by a thick cloud of black, a cloud of ancient evil. The sunlight, listen, the sunlight of the cross. We cannot reach it to dry up these stagnant waters and give it fertility until this cloud has been dispersed. Then let us see the angels of the Lord hovering over it and directing lightning flashes at it from the points of their swords. These flashes cause thunderstorms to break out in the cloud. Rifts of the cloud begins to break up, and the sunshine of Christ shines throughout the land beneath. This method, if persistent with will soon disperse the cloud. And remember, we are striking at the cloud and not the land beneath it. Once this is dispersed, the healing sunlight will do the rest. Okay. And so we have an afterthought by the author, which is Gareth Knight, who published this in 1993 out of the UK. And what was 1993, folks? Class, faster. It was solar maximum. 1993, solar maximum. Meaning what? Meaning Gareth Knight put together this book was inspired by what? Come on, look. The solar activity. Right, just like that. Solar activity. 23-year high. Again, what happened 23 years ago? Faster. 9/11. And what was 9/11? Come on, faster. It was a manufactured event pretending to be a terror attack that they created to send people into Satanism by getting them to kill millions of innocent people. There you go. 9/11 was the death march into this Antichrist system. You got it. And you should have it by now. Several years on, you might ask to reflect on whether these remarks about Germany could equally be said about most nations of the world, including our own, and whether a similar remedy might not be appropriate. 2 weeks later, Dions analyzed the esoteric forces set in motion by the National Day of Prayer. These public events were observed throughout the world, and like all movements involved mass psychology of whatever kind, had their esoteric implications. So in other words, she capitalized on, hijacked, took advantage of all the people at the same time. Engaging in prayer. Okay, so she's got that prayer loose, and then she does her thing while they're praying. Think McFly, you can do this. And when our periods, that we do know that people are at least putting their loose in a certain direction. Moons, super moons, new moons. 777 dates. We know we have a 777 date coming in next year. And I have aspirations to release a new book for next year. Because as people are feeling that solar energy between now and then, some of them should have that light bulb above their head and then be receptive and be able to perceive spiritually, psychically. Again, remember, I'm advising you to get sunlight, to be naked in the sun if you can be somewhere, shirtless without male or female, as long as you're appropriate. You know all parts of your body can use sun, right? Yeah, that includes everything. Sun gazing, sunrise, sunset, and then walking without glasses when the sun is rising for a few hours and when the sun is setting, and then maybe even going to a place, especially if the sun is burning you, it's too hot, and then getting sun for hours and hours and hours and hours without the sun burning you, and having air conditioning there, some sort of window, be a barrier, protective. Now, I came here based on intuition to this coffee shop, and the feeling that I get is that I'm not pissing these people off. But at the Christian coffee shop, there is this sense that even though I can go there and get that sunlight and do a few podcasts, the depth should only be so far at that particular place. 1 hour max, sitting for a few hours in the sunlight, reading a book, writing in a journal, and then being there. And then no more than one time per week at that spot. Otherwise, right, because at that particular spot, I introduced myself to an individual who worked there and gave them one of the local websites where I exposed human trafficking, gave them the YouTube channel, and explained to him that I was looking for a church. Explained to him that I was looking for an AA meeting, but knowing in my heart it's just a business. I might think it's a spiritual place. And so in the modern day and age, your value is a number. You are a consumer. And if you are not consuming, You are a suspect. You are a loiterer. Now, there is no more time for spirituality and embracing the flowers. No, technology is gone. Cell phones is gone. Cell phones has replaced man, God, everything. So understand why what's coming is coming. It's because we replaced each other with inanimate objects. And we did not stop when told to cease and desist. So, growing food is good. Touching plants. There's actually a serotonin release when you touch the dirt. I've been so entranced by this technology that I did not plant anything this year because the sun is so hot. And so the humans got to understand the sun that's hot should be harvested. If you just end up running from the sun, it's a very difficult thing because it does seem that climate change is a real thing. And that the sun is getting very hot in certain regions of the earth. It's literally like burning and burning and burning. And yet people, the conspiracy research community, some of them want to act like the sun's getting weak or something. We're dying. No, it's not, man. And so people need to wake up now in 2024 and go, oh my God, they really did that? Yes, they really did. They, the controllers. Since you guys have been on the internet for what, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, they manipulate what people see, what they think about the moon, what they know about the sun, what they know about morality, what they know about war. They manipulate the algorithms in the conspiracy movement to make sure that my face is never seen. Only if you choose to come here will you find it. And very few of you ever had that light bulb go off. Wow, this guy is shadow man. Unless we actually share his content or word of mouth through newsletters, this man will never be seen by the world. So that's really what you need to understand if you're online and you're getting auto-suggest. Auto-suggest. This is auto-suggest. Many times this auto-suggest is leading you to people that you should stay away from and them to stay away from you. Okay, this auto-suggest thing is not necessarily a spiritual thing. I notice with the auto-suggest at home on YouTube that it auto-suggests a lot of bad songs that are not spiritual, things that are violent, things that are lustful. And then I will notice also temptation on this. Let's say that my goal 1 month is no ice cream, no refined sugar. And all of a sudden I'm noticing temptation. Look at me, $2 for a gallon of ice cream. How can you turn that down to $2? Or just some arbitrary number. Oh, this is discounted. Wink, wink. And I'm not officially a member of any religion, but I have decided to be safe since I do see myself as an exorcist, a person that is able to attack people's demons, if you will. So people often feel attacked when I'm actually attacking the demons. Attach them. That's what I do believe spiritually. That most humans are infected by a demonic force, the vast majority of them. And many people take offense to it, especially the Ascension crowd or the New Age crowd. And that's too bad. And so I read in one book that he advised people, and now I get it, not to eat pork because I feel a demonic attack coming upon me. A real nastiness in the air when that meat is burning where I live. And just the most atrocious feeling comes over me. And folks, I've been eating pork my whole effing life. Pork sausage, pepperoni. It isn't until the last night of coming to Christ, okay, and addressing certain sins, that once certain sins and trying to keep adultery out of the head, although I'm not perfect, and I don't claim to be right now. What I'm saying is, the deeper I go into certain spirituality, the more then I start looking at what I eat. And to be honest with you, I want to go to the store down the street and get that type of pepperoni pizza that I like. I like the taste of it, but because I want spiritual insurance, Again, I make attempts to avoid certain violent content, and having anything to do with anyone that murders or praises murderers, which is why a friend that I have in Portland, he doesn't really talk to me much, even though I saw him as a dad, because I have become an angry SOB who can't keep friends. Why? Because I'll ask him point blank, did you do such and such? Are you evil? Will you make a pledge against evil? Does my life matter? So you take it to a level that's so heavy that it can be seen as being an extremist. And what they don't understand is they may not have been called to share her book because they may not have a soul connection to that which she had a soul connection to. And what she had a soul connection to, which she was involved in, is something that many humans on a deeper spiritual criminal nature are. And that is our ability to contact our ancestors, to absorb their powers, to contact the masters of the inner planes. My own father, who I have charged with being an evil man, who has earned, in my opinion, blood money. He has prayed to, on social media, the angels of protection of the Hindu Kush mountains, the people of San Luis, Colorado, when being attacked by the Indians, prayed together in their Catholicism tradition and manifested a being of protection. And then there's, of course, rural pain fire, what I've talked to you about. We're just going to pause, take in this music as we think about the cross and rose that is used collectively by you and me as protection against evil forces. Dion encourages you, I encourage you to start with inhale and simple protection. To be that cross. And then maybe spending several years with that, etching it into your consciousness, and then preparing yourself for the cross. So we may end this lifetime and then come back. I will go ahead and repeat the prayer in a moment. That's
Africa, Europa, Australia, America, это земля.
Let us visualize our system as a vast marsh of human helplessness and ignorance covered by the black cloud of ancient evil. The sunlight of Christ cannot reach up to our society to dry up the stagnant waters and give them health and fertility until the cloud above us has been dispersed. Then let us see the angels of the Lord hovering over and directing lightning flashes of lightning from the points of their swords. These flashes cause thunderstorms to break out in the clouds, rifts appear, the cloud begins to break up, and the sunshine of Christ shines throughout the land. This method, if persistent with, will soon disperse the cloud. And remember the striking of the cloud with the land beneath it. Once this is dispersed, the healing of sunlight will do the rest. The National Day of Prayer, which has just passed, will undoubtedly have let loose powerful forces in the atmosphere of the race. We must not be surprised if these forces prove destructive as well as constructive, for greater potencies are wielded in this manner than is realized by those setting them in motion. The destruction thus caused, though disruptive at the time, is by no means evil unless it is excessive, for although changes must come, they should not be introduced so drastically as to disrupt organic national life and cause the spiritual equivalent of surgical shock. We who have knowledge of the laws and nature of the inner planes and the forces operating thereon should use our knowledge of these powers to assist in directing and controlling what might otherwise be a blind evolution of energy, well-intentioned but undirected. Let us seek the cooperation of those who come to us in the light in order that these blind spiritual forces may be intellectually directed. In the letter that follows, she describes in some detail the symbolism of the group of energy, this spontaneous description of energies. We see a particular application of the technique that has come to be called path working. So keep in mind that she had a mystical tradition, which includes the Order of the Golden Dawn, and then she left them to intuitively create instructions, intuitively, to defeat the dark and cold of Nazi Germany.